present you an initiative which we are promoting here at our university. You know, the group where I'm working is part of several research projects of the European Commission, and also are very most interested in the research of open source. Basically, what we usually do is we try to obtain data from research, from open source projects. And one of the problems we have is that although we usually try to do this in a non-intrusive way, this actually is something that happens sometimes and not always. So the idea of our initiative is to create a meeting point where research meets the community, and also where the community meets the research. We would like to have a win-win situation where both research and the free software community get at a better position by working together. So I'm going to present it from both sides to try to make you understand why we think this is interesting, first for researchers and then also for the community. So on one side, I got the point of view of a FLOSS developer. So just if you work on any project, you probably have already noticed that there are many researchers around. You notice that sometimes only because once and then you get an email asking you to fill out a survey. Because I'm doing my master thesis on this project, and I would like to have feedback from the community. So you see, okay, please fill this survey, which is a web-based survey and so on. Okay, probably when you're in a project, in a new project, and you're working there for some weeks, then you fill out that survey. But after some time, you notice that once a month or once every few weeks, it depends on the project, they are asking you to fill out a new survey. So this is a lot. This is sometimes even nasty, people say. That's on the side of the developers. It's always every once and then to spend 15, maybe half an hour filling out a survey. We'll see from the research point of view that's also a bad thing, because you get few developers to answer your survey. You have a community of 300 people, and at the end you get 3 responses. Therefore, your survey isn't worth nothing. Another point of view that's sometimes happens is when we mine, for instance, when we mine for the CVS or the Subversion repository, sometimes we overload the servers. So this sometimes happens because we want to get data fast. Sometimes it happens because there is a bug. So I remember several years ago that the CVS server of GNOME was for one weekend very slow. And that was because in my mining software I had a bug. And then all the people in the mailing list were complaining, oh, why is the CVS working so bad this weekend? And I was thinking myself, oh, maybe it's my software. So I just stopped my software, and then it worked again very good. So the problem is I checked it out in a wrong way, and then I was overloading the server. So there was a big thread already stating that they have to change the hardware of the server and move to Subversion and so on, 30 emails. And actually it was just a very small bug in my software, which I didn't correct. So and I think the most important thing is that developers just don't understand what we researchers do. So they just see, okay, there are some people around there who study us, and this are really strange people, because at the end they write some papers who really nobody reads. And if I try to read it, it's about my project. I know my project very well, but I don't understand anything at all. So that's a problem. So they research and they try to have some conclusions, and I don't understand anything. I don't have a clue about what they are talking about. And actually, there are very few efforts from the researchers to say developers, hey, that's what we found in your project. That's what we wanted, what we are looking at. Understand why this is important, and these are our findings. And we think maybe you could improve your project by doing this way or that way, or sometimes even much research is just descriptive. You go to the developers and tell them, hey, that's what we found in your project. These are the most contributing people. And actually it's very funny because we found out that in your project, for instance, you can see that there are commits every day of the week, but on Fridays there are less commits. We don't know why. Or you notice, there is a week where there are less commits, and it's because there is something like the FOSDEM, and everybody's at the FOSDEM, and then this weekend you see less commits, and things like that. So developers are sometimes very interested about those kinds of things, because, okay, they want to know about their community, they feel part of this community, and they say, yeah, that's interesting. But this, I have to say, seldom happens, that researchers go to the community and tell them, hey, that's what we know about you. So this was on one side, and this is the other side. If you're a researcher, as I said before, you make a survey, and making a survey, if you've done one, sometime you'll notice, this is not an easy task. You spend a lot of time finding the right question and the right answers, and you test it and so on. And you get a very good survey, and you submit it to the Apache mailing list, and you get 3 responses. And probably you get out of those 3 responses, 2 are people who are not really developers of Apache. They just entered, and they are very, very happy of being contributing to Apache. So, yeah. So, sometimes researchers think, developers are really difficult to get at. There are lots of developers, but how can I get information about them? So, second point is, actually what you want is data about the project. If you write a paper, sometimes it's very, very interesting, because you write the paper and get some results, and then there are some astonishing results. Like in KDE, there is one committer who we saw for 3 or 4 years, did a commit every 8 minutes. Wow, every 8 minutes, one commit. Of course, anyone who knows the KDE project knows that that's a bot, it's not a human. But if you don't know that, and as a researcher, you don't know the details of every project, then you might think, oh, I found really the super hacker. He's doing a commit every 8 minutes. That's, wow. Now I understand why open source is that good, because of things like that. So actually, it takes very, very few time to notice, no, that's impossible, that's because of a bug. And that's just an anecdote that happens in every paper. So you are sometimes wondering, why does this happen? And then a developer comes and, this happens because we work in that way, or we work in the other way. Just notice that even if let's say the majority of the projects use the same tools for development, they don't use the tools in the same way. So the way they work, we also measure it. And of course the results are different. And if you don't have that information has to come from developers, then you got completely different results and possibly completely different conclusions. And that's what makes probably your research not that good. And that's the point about the feedback. Actually, there's one part that I told before. There are a few researchers who go to the community and say, hey, community, this is what we found from your project. And because we don't do that as researchers, or we do that not that often, there is also very few feedback from the community saying, hey, maybe it would be interesting that you look at this. We have very big problems organizing ourselves on this issue. How could we address that? Could you research this topic and so on? So, now that we know the 2 actors of our story, the point comes where we find why we want to promote researchfriendly.org. So, actually our main point is that we need bridges between both the research community and the free and open source community. So we need ways of intercommunicating, and probably we need ways to do it in a comprehensive and organized way. And that's where our idea comes in. So the main idea is we can identify things where we have win-win situations, where the community wins and where the researchers also win. And those are the points where we should focus at. So there, I'll put there afterwards 2 examples, but there are probably many examples that we could have win-win situations for this. So, for instance, one situation is for developers, they don't bug me that often with a new survey, and for researchers, I get my data from my research. Actually, the point is really about trust. So, by now, I would say that we've got two different communities, and they are in the world, they're in parallel, and they work on their own worlds. So we need to build some trust between those communities, so that, let's say, researchers know, okay, I can trust developers so that they give me, or they provide me with ideas and feedback, and developers can trust the research community in a sense that they say, okay, if I tell them my problems, maybe they come with interesting ideas, and I can make my project better. So, if we go from the research point of view, the idea is to have a proxy. So that's what research friendly tries to be. Let's see. We find a meeting point where all researchers come together, and for instance, we make one official or periodic survey. How does this work? That's pretty simple. Instead of having for the Apache community one survey every 3 weeks, then we say, okay, there's going to be one survey every 9 months or every year, which is one thing that you can ask developers to kindly fill it out. You know, it's only one survey per year. This is an official survey. You know, many researchers have come together and have made this survey. And you know this, there is going also to be feedback for this survey. So actually, we need a point here where we as researchers have to organize ourselves to get this survey. So this is one example, but other examples could be like requests for data. So if you are running a project and you have mailing lists, for instance for KDE, they have the mailing list on HTML, but they have the inboxes somewhere. So if you are a KDE admin, you probably get an email once a month asking for the inboxes of the KDE project. This is a sort of nasty. It would be better for the KDE admin to say, okay, if you want data, I provide it to the proxy, to research friendly, and just ask them. And I know if researchers want data from me, I go through this proxy. So I just all this work that supposes me to say no and why and so on, I just put it on the research friendly side, on the researchers, on the proxy from the researchers. So you organize yourselves, and if you want something, then there's a way of coming to me which I trust, which I know the people, which I also know I can collaborate and I get feedback. So that's the other point of view. Actually, from the other point of view is that if we are a community and we are lots of developers here, we know that there's somebody there which is the research proxy, which interacts probably with one proxy in our project. So, for instance, putting the Apache project as an example, somebody from Apache is in charge of interacting with the research community. So we have people like that who are interested in promoting their research on their projects. So as a community, you know, okay, anything that has to do with research, there is somebody from our community who interacts with those researchers, and he knows about it, and he knows the people, and he knows how to get the feedback. So I don't have much time, so I'm going to some case examples where this could benefit both things. So I'm trying to focus on win-win situations. So I've talked a lot about surveys, which is the first case study, first example, and then I put another example which is more technical. So this one is probably the easiest to understand. So just imagine as researchers, we make a periodic official survey, and this would work, for instance, like we make a call for surveys, a call for questions for a survey, and then we know, okay, every 9 months or every 12 months we make this official survey. So probably we have some deadlines where we have to set the questions, then there may be some discussion because all the surveys are difficult to make and about the length and about probably the technology and so on. And then we open the survey, we ask the community to fill it out. We close the survey and then we got the data. So once we get the data, very important is we would like to provide all this data in a public way. So actually we do this, and there's a survey every January. So we would have the data of the survey of January 2009, January 2010, 2011. So researchers that come afterwards, they have the access to the data from previous surveys. The second case, which I find very interesting, is, for instance, the validation of a supporting tool. So by now, I think at research we are in a position where we want to understand what is going on, and we want to know more about the community, the free software community. But probably in some point in the future, I think in the very near future, one of the things that researchers are going to be very interested in is just to have new ways of improving development. And this is just an example. This here is an Eclipse plugin which takes information out of the CDS. And here you see, these are the lines of code, and these are here the colors. And you can see here with just a few colors how many changes this function had. So it gets from CDS how many times this function has changed. The idea is functions that change a lot are more dangerous than functions that change less. So it's a very simple idea. And you see with a color scheme, it's very easy to put. So you're just telling the developer, hey, take care. This is a function that changes a lot. This is probably a function that is not that easy. And this one is green, so okay, this is not that problematic. So this is just an idea of what the future could be. Interesting for researchers is that you get developers using this plugin, because actually you made this for being used, and you need feedback from developers saying, okay, this is a good idea, probably this is too simple, you should improve it in that way. We've got the experience that we in our project have been using it, and you should improve it in this direction, for instance.
My computer doesn't have enough gigabytes of RAM to run Eclipse.
Okay, that's another problem. Yeah, that's just an example of things that
sure.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that many developers use Eclipse.
No, I'm sure it can run Eclipse. It's
okay. So the important thing about what I'm telling you is that doing this really requires trust and to understand what the researchers are doing. That's an important thing. That's what we want to do. I mean, you wouldn't run this plugin even as stupid as it seems, just two colors, if you don't know, aha, this is for a good thing, and I'm improving my development. Or maybe I'm not improving my development directly now, but in the short future, we can use this to improve the development. That's good for our community. That's good for our tool. That's good for everything. So that's the point. If you don't have this bridge which I was talking before, then researchers don't have users who use their plugin in a sense, and the community doesn't have the advantage of some advancement in the research that we have. So. Okay, and then I don't know how much time do I have? What does it mean? No? 5 minutes. Okay. Okay, and then I've got some issues for researchers. So this is an ongoing initiative, and I'll put at the end the website. So we've got the domain, but we don't have even a web by now. So this is really in the very first step. Oh, we've got a website even?
Yes.
Ah, that's good.
It's
so
pretty empty, but
okay. So as you see, we've got a website, but an empty website. So which is one step more than I thought. So that means we really need feedback, and now I'm talking from the research perspective. So actually, if we want to have a proxy, then we need also, this is like any other project. We need a way to see how we coordinate ourselves, who decides, how we decide, and so on. So we're really open about this. We need also to see how we distribute the effort. So at the end, coordinating data retrieval activities means that you have to put some time of your life on doing that. And then you need to see who's mirroring, takes the intermediate databases, and so on. Then there's a big topic about privacy issues. I don't want to go very much into detail in that sense, but just imagine if we got surveys and we mine in the CVS repositories, then we could have very detailed information about individual developers. And that's, on one side, that's good. On the other side, it has also a bad side. So I would like to see sometime in the future that an agreement on what we do and what we cannot do, and also to say to the free software community, that's what we do, and that's where we set the border. So so that we can openly state what we do, and everybody can read it, and it's clear. And of course, we need some resources that are technical. These are that much a problem, because putting up the website shouldn't be that much a problem. Having a hard disk and so on, or bandwidth, is not that problematic, as at least by now. Maybe in the future that would be good news, because that means research friendly is a good initiative. So that are problems that I would like to see in the future, but not now. Probably the biggest issue now is human resources, that people say, I think this is a good idea. And not only this is a good idea, it's an idea worth putting some of my time on it, not much time, but some of my time. And I think that's the point where we researchers like much time. So this is the point where we are now. So approaching other researchers. So when I talk about these, my university, the Universidad Rey Juan Carlos, we are approaching other researchers to join, to have, let's say, a community where we can say, okay, this is research friendly. We are around 20 universities, and we would like to have contact with this community. We are setting the website, mailing list, wiki, and so, of course, we are open to other groups anytime. So anytime other research groups can join. And thus, as I stated before, this should be open and some way self-organized. And I have any other slide here. Yeah, and one of the last things is how we are approaching the community. So we were thinking about which of these two approaches would be best. One of them is let's try to contact as many projects as possible, or just start with a small number of them, and then with this experience trying to get more projects. Right now we are more in the B option. So we have been speaking with the Apache Foundation, and we have got we found there some people that are very interested in this initiative, also because they are researchers. We would like to have some other big projects at the beginning, and I think once Apache and these big projects share the experience, then I'm confident that other projects will join. Once they know, okay, we collaborate with the research community, and we've got these advantages, and they have an official survey, and then they are nasty, at least not as much as now. They provide feedback, and they come to the ApacheCon and tell us what they do, and so on. Probably this would be a good example, so that other projects may join and say, we would like to have the same collaboration with research friendly. And I think that's it. Let me see. Yeah, as you see here, this is the empty website, but I hope sometime soon it won't be empty anymore. So I think I have probably 2 or 3 minutes. Nothing slow? Not at all? Okay. So, for one question I have some time.
So
Okay.
we have to finish at 4 this part. So
Okay.
we are going to have almost 1 hour at the end of this session. I mean, of the afternoon session, for having discussion exactly on this kind of things.